Haha! Hello, everybody, and welcome to Strawberry's Gamer Society. Right now, my output appears to be... Ooh, you are lagging, or it's possible that I am lagging. And it also appears that my output is... It's as though my computer has the mute button on, so I can't hear any of the music that I am going to be playing for you guys. Which right now there isn't any music playing, but there should have been earlier. So actually, I am curious if I go and play some music. This is the danger music. Can you hear that? All right, okay, good, Reese. It's nice to know it's not lagging for you. Sometimes it's hard for me to tell whether it's me or you guys, and I was having enough trouble connecting earlier that, I was having enough trouble connecting earlier that I wasn't sure if it was me who was lagging today. All right. So, we have music, and I think, can you guys hear the music? Is it a decent volume relative to my voice? Or should I turn the music up just a little? I want it kind of low, but still there. Because tonight's stream is about... It's a little quiet. Okay, let me make that just a little higher there. There we go. So we're still in the green, but not quite to the yellow. How's that? Okay. So, tonight's stream is about crucial conversations. Tools for talking when the stakes are high. Hello, hi, Emergency Bean. Welcome, welcome. This is Strawberry's Gamer Society, and welcome to our chat. So, I am a... Oh, thank you so much for the follow. I really, really appreciate that. So, I am Strawberry, and I am an internet gamer mom, and I like to stream on basically giving out mom advice. And so, anytime you have any questions... Oh, I know what my problem is. There we go. I was like, why isn't my keyboard working? But I figured it out. If you have any mom questions or things that you'd like to know, then definitely feel free to put them in the chat. But if you don't, then I have a bunch of streaming ideas and things planned, and tonight is a book review on the book Crucial Conversations, Tips for Talking When the Stakes Are High. And this book is one of those books that has influenced me a lot over the past year, because when COVID-19 hit, I had to do a lot of talking to a lot of people about various things, and it was that there were a lot of conversations that I needed to have when people weren't happy with what the results were. So questions about Minecraft, or specifically, or just in general, pretty much anything. I will do my best to answer any question you have, and if I don't know the answer, then I'm very good at research, and I can look something up and do a stream on it on a different night. Yeah. And so back to, with the, when COVID-19 hit, I was in a position of a small amount of authority, but at the same time, I didn't have very much authority, and I had to be in a place where I was talking to a whole lot of people about what should we do and how should our organization respond to this. And it was very hard, because we had people who are like, this is all a hoax and we shouldn't do anything differently, to people who felt that we were overreacting, to people who felt that we weren't going far enough soon enough. And it was just, there was an awful lot of talking that I had to do with people when the stakes were high. And, okay, you just got Minecraft Sunday and you have no clue how to play, then you're in the right place. I am good at explaining things, and I start at the beginning, so great. Tonight we're just doing farming, so I am about to, I ran out of storage space because I'm going to start storing pumpkins and melons. And with my pumpkins and melons, then, let's see here, I am going to craft some more storage chests. So I need, oops, I didn't make quite enough. Well, that'll do. Actually, no, I did. Okay. So I need some storage chests. So I put my blocks of wood in there. Each wood makes spruce planks, and then the spruce planks in this pattern here. And then I've got a bunch of storage chests. And now I am going to place the storage chests down over here to store all of these melons that I am about to harvest. And for me, when I'm streaming, it is easiest if I just do farming, and then I can farm and talk at the same time. Oh, is the music loud? I can make the music softer. This is why I ask these questions. So, there we go. How about that? Okay, there we go. It was quiet at the beginning, and now it's all right. Okay, or hopefully it's all right. And so as I said in last night's stream, there's about 3 different places I can change the volume of the music, and what I hear is not what you guys hear. And so, if it's too loud or too quiet, I definitely rely on feedback to get that figured out. Alrighty, so what I am doing is I just crafted some chests, and then into the chests I am going to place, as soon as I get the right window back up again, into the chest I am going to place all of the melons. So I'm going to put pumpkins in one and melons in the other, and the reason why I'm doing this farming is because the villagers I will sell these things to the villagers, and then the villagers will give me emeralds. Well, some villagers will give me emeralds, and then other villagers will give me things that I want, like diamond armor and tools, in exchange for the emeralds. Yeah. Oh, Bed Wars. I get too scared playing Bed Wars. I always feel like I'm gonna fall out of the sky, which I usually do. Yes, I fall into the void a lot. I'm not very good at Bed Wars, but I will get better with practice. So yeah, back to the Crucial Conversations. This is a book that I read fairly early on in the pandemic, and it definitely helped me do talking with other people that I needed to talk with in order to make decisions for our organization. And I know that a lot of people here have issues talking to people, and a lot of times you have difficult conversations that you need to have either with your parents or with your boyfriends or girlfriends or your friends. And how do you talk to people when the stakes are high and reasonable opinions differ, the stakes are high, and the situation is emotionally charged? And what are some good techniques for talking in those situations? Because it's possible to ruin friendships, basically, if you don't handle those kinds of conversations well. And so this book is a lot of techniques and tips for both how to identify that kind of conversation and then how to hold that kind of conversation. And let's see. So first off, identifying how can you tell when you're about to have a crucial conversation? And why do we do our worst? Like, sometimes we can talk normally to somebody, but as soon as the conversation turns difficult, like you are normally you're just fine hanging out with your partner, and then all of a sudden one of you brings up a sticky, touchy topic. And when the tricky topic comes up, all of a sudden this person that you could talk to just fine, you can't talk to them anymore. And you can feel your heart rate increasing, and you can feel the hair rise on the back of your neck. And you can feel that difficult conversation. Like, when that adrenaline starts pumping, that's when we do our worst. Like, normally, you'd be perfectly respectful of the things other people in your household would say. But when you get into that situation where it's tense and emotional, that's when we make our worst mistakes with respect to having crucial conversations. And if we examine ourselves, we can figure out, okay, how can I get rid of that difficulty that I was having? Like, how can I change my body from fight or flight? Because when you get into fight or flight mode, basically your body is saying, I want to send all of the blood flow. I don't need my brain. I need to run away. And so it sends all the blood flow away from the brain and into our other bodily organs, like our arms and our legs, for running and hitting things. And so that's not good. And so how do we figure out techniques for helping ourselves calm down and have those crucial conversations successfully? And actually, I'm going to compress these melons before I put them in the chest. So when you've got 9 stacks of melons, you can turn melon slices into whole melons, and then they take up a lot less space, like that. Okay. And just a second here. Where did my... Oh, I have notes. I reread the book today and took notes, and I've got a lot of them because I didn't want to miss anything. So yeah, we recognize a crucial conversation because opinions vary, the stakes are high, and the emotions are running strong. And that's exactly when we're at our worst for the crucial conversations. And there's different ways that people can deal with these crucial conversations. They can avoid them, or face them and handle them poorly, or face the crucial conversation and handle it well. And obviously, the authors of the book believe that we should be able to learn the skills to face the crucial conversation and handle it well. And let's see here. What are examples of crucial conversations? So, one example of a crucial conversation is ending a relationship. Like, that is one of the biggest ones that people encounter that is very difficult for people to have. And sometimes people will avoid it for a long time. Or instead of telling your boyfriend or girlfriend that you're breaking up with them, people will just ghost you, and they won't reply to anything or say anything about why. And you're like, what have I done? And you don't know what's going on. So that is one example of a time when there's a crucial conversation going on. Selecting your major for college. So the book is written largely to people who are already adults and working in corporate America. So a lot of their examples have to do with talking to your coworkers and talking to a coworker who's behaving offensively or making suggestive comments. Asking a friend to repay a loan. That's a crucial conversation. Giving your boss feedback about their behavior. Approaching someone who's breaking safety policies. This is something that this book was written before COVID-19 came out, like long before COVID-19 came out. All right. Well, good night, Emergency Bean. It's so nice to meet you. I do wind up posting all of my VODs on YouTube afterwards, or you can come to Twitch for the next 14 days and see them. And, yeah, thanks. Thanks for watching. Good night. Sleep well. Yeah. So, yeah, this book came out long before COVID-19 was a thing, but nowadays, having the conversation with people about safety, it can be very emotionally charged, because some people feel that we're overreacting and other people feel that we're not, and those opinions differ, emotions run high, and the outcome actually matters. And so how do you have those conversations in a respectful way? And a lot of the examples given in the book were about doctors and nurses, and sometimes, because this was pre-COVID-19, sometimes doctors would fail to follow the checklist policies of their hospitals, and they wouldn't wash their hands appropriately, like do all the steps of washing their hands that they needed to do. And they wouldn't necessarily mask up when they needed to do surgery. And the nurses would be standing there and they would know what the doctor needs to do. It's not that everybody in the room forgot. It's that the nurse didn't feel comfortable having that conversation with the doctor about needing to wear a mask for the hospital procedure. And that kind of thing can lead to infection in patients. And it, like hospitalizations and deaths occur when people make that kind of mistake. And, mistake on the doctor's part for not following the protocol, and mistake on the nurse's part for not pointing it out, and again, mistake on the doctor's part for not creating an environment where people feel safe pointing out the difficult conversation that needed to happen. And so this book is all about how do we have that conversation that needs to happen, and how do we make the environment safe so that the conversation can happen, so that we can have the better outcome for everybody. And so, let's see here. So, what do you do? So, it's really difficult to have these conversations. Some people do it well, but most people don't. Because we learn from the time that we're really little that these things can be, we learn from the time that we're really little that if you say the truth, people's feelings will get hurt sometimes. So the example they gave in the book is, you learn when you're little that when grandma says, "So, how do you like my Brussels sprout and cream pie?" And you can tell that the right answer, even when you're 5 years old, you can tell that the right answer is, you have to tell grandma, "Oh, grandma, I love your Brussels sprout cream pie," even when it's not true. But grandma is asking, "How much do you love me?" And that's not really the question that she's asking, but that's the question that she's asking. And so you learn to not tell the truth in these situations. And the two ways that people learn how to not tell the truth are not give their full information about what they're really thinking and feeling. The two ways that people respond is that the authors put it as silence or violence. Sometimes people respond by not saying anything at all, and other times people respond by getting angry. And, oops. I don't know, maybe I should have killed that zombie. But that is those are sort of the two ways that people respond, and the authors have an entire chapter devoted to describing, yes, screaming. That's the violence. It's not physical violence, but it's verbal violence is a thing that people do when they're responding. And it's not a healthy way to have a conversation with people, obviously. And when you respond with a emotionally violent response, it shuts down the conversation and makes it such that the other person has difficulty putting their... the authors talk about putting your knowledge into the shared pool of understanding. And when people need to make a decision, then having all the information, all the relevant information in the shared pool of understanding is usually the best way to get the best response. But if people don't feel comfortable putting their knowledge into the shared pool of understanding, then you don't wind up with the best response. So it is possible, however, to get better at this kind of conversation and to get better at it with practice. And as they say, perfect practice makes and it's not just practice makes perfect, but perfect practice makes perfect. You have to practice having these conversations both in your own head in advance, and then sometimes you get blindsided and sometimes you don't say the right thing, but then you rehearse of, okay, what could I have said the next time something like that comes up? And the authors claim that the ability to handle these crucial conversations is what makes the difference between successful and unsuccessful companies. That companies where the employees feel comfortable speaking up and telling management, hey, this is what's really going on, are the companies that are successful in the long run. Companies that have a top-down, my way or the highway, I'm the boss and you're the worker style don't tend to be as successful in the long term because it's difficult to solve problems collaboratively. And the people who are working the line, sometimes they're the ones who have the knowledge that management needs to make the right decision. But if those people don't feel comfortable speaking up, then the right decisions don't get made. And let's see here. Next page. So one of the examples that they gave in the book was moving the company headquarters. So this particular company, they needed to move their headquarters, and the CEO had all the top managers in a room, and various people gave their presentations on why they thought a particular city was going to be the right choice. And then the manager went through and basically got belligerent about why his choice had to be the right choice. And everyone in the room kind of knew that the manager, or that the top CEO boss, it was his final decision, but just about everybody could tell that they were about to make the wrong decision. And because the boss was belittling people who were speaking out against his recommendation, then people stopped speaking up. Except the authors of the book have, the hero of this story. The hero of this story was able to speak up and confront the big boss in a way that was respectful of the big boss, but still got the point across that maybe they weren't making the best decision. And the way that he did it was, he said, "Can I check something out with you? It appears you might be violating your own decision-making policies when you are making this choice." And by basically asking the boss for more information, they were able to figure out, oh, the reason why the boss wants this place as the new headquarters is because the boss would have a shorter commute. But that isn't really the right decision for the rest of the company. And when the boss was able to identify that, oh yeah, I am really avoiding all of these other pieces of knowledge because my real motivation is I want a shorter commute, then they were able to come to a better decision. I need to ditch some of these seeds so I have more space. I need to ditch a lot of these seeds so that I have more space. Let's see here. Do that. Yeah, that's enough for now. Okay. That's why I like melons. You don't wind up with seeds and you don't have to replant them. They're also very space efficient for taking things to the villagers, because the villagers will pay an emerald for just 4. So anyway, where was I? Yeah, so how do you be that person? How, the authors pointed out that organizations that are successful have somebody like that who can speak truth to power, so to speak, and be able to talk to people without harming themselves or their reputation, and making it so that everyone is respected, and that all of the knowledge gets into the knowledge pool, and good decisions get made, or relationships get forged, things like that. And how do you be that person? And you don't do it with silence, you don't do it with violence, not by forcing it. You do it by showing respect, and you do it by avoiding what they call the fool's choice. So the fool's choice is thinking that you have only 2 alternatives. When the boss is basically shutting everybody down who has a contrarian opinion, you think, okay, well, I have only 2 possible choices here. I can either speak up and make enemies of the CEO, or I can suffer in silence and let the company make a bad decision. But that's a fool's choice, because there's a third way to do it. There's a way to speak up without alienating the CEO, and there's a way to add your knowledge to that shared pool of understanding without making anyone else look like a fool. And so that's sort of the third way out of that fool's choice. And the important aspects of it are dialogue. Skilled people get all the information they need out of the other people. And let's see, I already talked about filling the shared pool of meaning. Yeah, it takes longer to have a dialogue, but the increased time investment in getting all the information from everyone will help make better decisions and form better relationships in the long run. And people will buy into the final decision better if they have input into making that decision, and they won't try to undermine the final outcome. And if everyone's there and everyone understands all of the pieces and all of the arguments, then they're more likely to go along with the final decision, even if the final decision isn't the thing that they would have personally picked. And I definitely found that for myself in the last year with COVID-19, that there were some times when I had to make final decisions, and I knew that there were people in the room who still disagreed with me, but they were able to respect me and go along with it anyway. And so I guess that the stuff I learned from the book, it works, people. So just thought I'd share that. Yeah, this book was definitely transformative for me, in part because I'm a geek. I don't do conversation well. I don't do discussions with people well. I'm not a great people person. I have to learn these techniques that some people pick up sort of just by living, or by being extroverted and being good at talking to people. Some people are just more charismatic than others, and I am not terribly charismatic, but I'm learning how from books. Yeah. Smiley face. Hey, this is Strawberry's Gamer Society. I assume that you guys are at least a little bit like me, and that's why you're here. So we can learn from one another and get better at everything together. So how do you do this stuff? They basically spend, so the first 2 chapters of the book are spent kind of describing the problem, and then the whole rest of the book is spent on specific techniques and things. And so yeah, let's see here. The next bit is first thing you have to do is identify negative ways of interacting with people, and that's the silence or violence. And in the workplace, silence can look like salute and stay mute. What that means is when the boss says do something and you know it's stupid, then you just say, yes, sir, and do it anyway, and don't tell them that you think they're making a really bad choice. So that's the salute or stay mute form. That's what silence looks like in the workplace. In the home, silence can really feel hurtful. It's that frozen feeling. It's that I'm not talking to you anymore experience. And they had a catchy phrase for it. In home, it looks like freeze your lover. We give our loved ones the cold shoulder in order to get them to treat us better. We rely on hints, sarcasm, and dirty looks to get our point across. And that's not a terribly healthy way to have a relationship. But sometimes, if the environment is unsafe, that's one way that people respond, is that silence or violence. Those are the two common ways that people respond when the situation is unsafe. And the violent side of it is it can go either from subtle manipulation to verbal attacks to get our meaning into the shared pool of knowledge. It can be yelling, it can be demeaning, it can be name-calling, it can be belittling the other person, and that's another way that people naturally respond, and it tends to be unhealthy in the long run. So what happens? How do the people who do it well do it? And the book recommends that they have lots of little cute, catchy phrases, and maybe I should get some signs and write these down. So, actually, wait, before I do this, I should craft these into melons so they will take up less space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1 stack of melons. How did I manage that? Okay, 2 stacks of melons. Something is not right here, but whatever. Okay, yeah, close enough. Good enough, that'll get most of everything out of here. Okay. Now we have some space for the new melons, and put the pumpkins over here. And get back to, how do we deal with it? So their first thing is start with heart. Oh, right, I was making space in my inventory. Hello. I do not have any emeralds right now, I don't think. Sorry. Oh, wait, I do. Let's see what you're selling. Do not need puzzle or oak or lily pads or black dye or white. Oh, now you sell tea pickles. Oh, well. Okay, what I do need, however, is a bunch of signs. So I can make some techniques over here. Oh, yeah, I already have some signs. Okay, I have lots of signs. These are spruce signs, not birch signs. I think birch signs are the best because they're easiest to read. I'm just gonna get some birch and make some better signs. So yeah, start with heart is the first thing that they have, and stay focused on what you really want. And the example they gave in the book is a CEO who wanted people to cut costs. Their business absolutely needed to cut costs. And she had a meeting with all of her top managers saying, okay, what can we do to cut costs? And one of the managers said, well, why should we cut costs when you're doing a new office renovation project that is costing $150,000, which is very expensive? And why should we be cutting costs? And in their example, then the CEO got noticeably upset. Somebody was like, they were trying to brainstorm how to cut costs, and this person was basically directly challenging her authority in front of everybody else. And it was very uncomfortable for her. And you could see, so the authors of the book implied that they were in the room observing successful CEOs when this happened. And what they said was, you could see the physical signs of clenching fists, tightening jaw, things like that, that made it more difficult. Like, you could tell she was feeling threatened, feeling attacked, and getting angry, and having the physical response of getting angry and, sending the blood flow in the body to all the wrong places that are not the brain and that sort of thing. And so what they noticed was, though, she took a deep breath, she breathed in, breathed out, unclenched her fists, and was able to say, I don't think it's that expensive, but maybe you're right. And was able to listen to what the person was really saying and say, okay, you are upset because you perceive, why should you cut costs when I'm spending all the money? And they were able to say, okay, how do I take a step back and focus on what is our shared goal here? What do I really want? Do I want to yell at this person in public, and they've just exposed me in public? Do I want to yell at them and sort of get them all upset and have a back and forth about, well, I deserve this because I'm running the company? Or do I want to focus on what is our shared goal? What do I really want out of this conversation with my employees? And the book recommends that when this happens, you take a step back and you ask yourself physically the questions, like silently inside your head: what do I want for myself? What do I want for others? What do I really want for this relationship? And then after you've kind of answered those questions, what do I really want? What the CEO really wanted was not to embarrass the guy in public, but what she really wanted was for the business to be successful and for the costs to be cut. And that's what that guy wanted too. He wanted the business to be successful, and he wanted the costs to be cut. He just wanted, her costs, not his costs, to be cut. And the fourth question that you ask after you figure out what do you really want, you ask, how would I behave if I really wanted those results? And I found myself in that situation last year when it was a one-on-one conversation with somebody and I was being attacked. And I tried hard to step back and focus on the shared mutual, what is it that we both really want here? So, what is this thing? They called it Start with Heart. With heart. What do you want? What is shared goal? So, start with heart is what is it that you really want? And when you're able to take a step back and not focus on the conflict with the other person, but try to figure out, okay, what is our shared goal? In the example, then the CEO said, oh, I don't think it was that expensive, but let me have somebody check on those numbers. And so, she sent somebody out to double check those numbers and see what it was. And then the CEO said, yes, this is expensive, but the reason why it's so expensive is because we are trying to have a place where our clients, we can bring clients into the office, and our marketing consultant said that clients are more likely to spend more when they feel that we are successful. And so it was really important to them to share, like, to have a nice looking office space to bring clients into in order for the company to be successful, that in the long run, it's better for the company. And so, let's see here, I'm not to the next thing yet, and I'll just talk for a second. And so she said, but I didn't think it was as expensive as $150,000, so clearly I haven't been running my own ship with this office remodel as tightly as I expect you guys to run your departments. And that's something that I need to work on and I need to get better at. So thank you for bringing this to my attention. I will try to get better at cutting the costs on the office remodel. But I need you as department heads to look at how can you cut costs within your own department. And by turning it around that way and by admitting some culpability in herself and not attacking the guy and making it a safe space for him to have said the thing that he said, she was able to get buy-in from all of the other managers, and they're like, oh, if she can do it and find a way to cut costs in this office remodel without compromising the needs that she has for making a nice place for customers to come, then maybe we can cut costs too. And she's giving us an example of, oh, I really should have double checked on the costs for that. And oh, thank you. Yes, I should totally do a water check. I am talking so much tonight. Oh my goodness, this has been 45 minutes already? Wow. Okay. And so she was like, hey, I can work on this. And when she's modeling for them how to work on taking control of the project and looking at the costs, then the other managers were able to do the same thing within their departments. And so that was that chapter of what is it that you really want, and have heart, take charge of your body, take a breath, take charge of your own body, because that's the only thing that you can control. You can't control the other people, you can just control yourself. And when you're controlling your own actions, sometimes you can influence other people, but you can't control other people. And so the next thing is that was like chapter, I guess that was chapter 3, was start with heart. Chapter 4 is learn to look, and how to make it so that other people feel safe. Make others feel safe. So when people are, when you notice that people are showing silence or violence, when you notice that people are showing signs of silence or violence, like, it's a very good thing to look for that and notice it. And then when you're noticing it, you can take steps to change the situation so that other people don't feel the need to do silence and violence. So the silence that they talk about, silence, there's 3 different kinds that they talk about. There's masking, there's avoiding, and there's withdrawing. With D-R-A-W-I-N-G, withdrawing. And I forgot to write down short definitions of those. But the masking, I think, was saying things that are not fully not the full situation. Avoiding is avoiding talking about the problem. So it's like when somebody brings up the so I wanted to talk about our relationship, and you change the subject with, oh, I forgot to tell you I bought a new pen today, then that's avoiding the conversation by changing the topic. And then withdrawing is, giving somebody the cold shoulder and not talking to them at all. And then violence looks like controlling and just making all the decisions without taking other people's inputs, and labeling. So you're a crybaby, you're stupid, you're I don't know what kinds of labels people. I try so hard not to label people for anything. It's hard for me to come up with examples of labels, but just labeling people and putting a whole stereotype onto somebody so that you can just dehumanize them by labeling them, and then attacking and just verbally cursing someone out and just being really mean. And those are the things that people do when when people feel unsafe, they respond in these ways, and these ways can make other people feel even more unsafe, like especially with the violence thing, but even with the silence thing. Like when somebody you live with is giving you the silent treatment and not talking to you, and you can tell they're upset, and you ask, what's upsetting you? And they say, oh, nothing. And then they turn their back and walk away. Then that can make you feel like, oh no, what did I do wrong? What is wrong with this situation? And so that silence or violence. And so chapter 4 is all about learning how to recognize when other people are feeling unsafe. And then chapter 5 is all about making it safe. So 5, make it safe. And so I am, given that we're getting close to the end, I don't know, do you guys want more detail today? Or do you guys want me to split this into 2 streams and go into details? Or would you rather that I covered everything? Like, I can cover everything kind of quickly tonight, or I can cover the remaining chapters of the book in more detail tomorrow. So let me know which you would prefer. Yeah. So anyway, I guess I'll just keep talking about chapter 5. You think cover it briefly? All right, got it. I will cover it briefly so it gets all covered in one stream. So chapter 5 is about making the situation safe. So they have like step out of the situation. Like when the conversation gets tense and it starts becoming unsafe, and people start doing those verbal or those body language things of crossing their arms and not saying anything or yelling or whatever, then that's when it's important, if you are able to control the conversation in such a way that you can like step out of it and say, it's not the full-on avoiding, it's the, hey, let's make it safe so that everyone can put their information into the shared pool of knowledge. So step out of the conversation to make it safe. Remind people that you have mutual purpose, mutual respect. Apologize if you have done something wrong, then apologize for it. And contrast what you don't mean with what you do, and create a mutual purpose. Like even when people totally disagree on everything, it seems, you can still find something that everybody agrees on. So that's the create a mutual purpose. So chapter 6 is all about master my stories. So basically people tell ourselves stories. Like it's how humans relate to things. And now I'm gonna harvest some more melons while I talk about stories. It's one of the ways, I mean, sitting around the campfire and telling stories is just how people react and relate. And telling stories it helps our brains process all the complexities of life, but it can also lead to a trap if we tell ourselves unhelpful stories. And there's 3 stories that people tend to tell themselves. There's the, yeah, I'm lagging too, so maybe it's me. I don't know. Okay. Yeah, I don't know if it is me, if there's much that I can do. Other than I'll just try to keep going and hope the lag fixes slowly. Actually, I can do a... Let me look at... Where's my stream thing? Okay, my stream thing says excellent, so... sorry, it'll be in the VOD. I'll try to repeat myself a lot and then you'll hear it. So yeah, when we tell ourselves stories, there's some standard stories that people tend to tell themselves. And one of them is the victim story. It's not my fault. This happened because somebody else did something, and whatever the bad situation is, it's not my fault. I'm the victim here. The other story people tend to tell themselves is villain stories. It's all their fault. Everything that is wrong in this company or in this family or in this household, it's all due to the other person. They are the villain and I am the hero and everything is their fault. That's the villain story. And then people also tend to tell themselves helpless stories. There's nothing else I could do. That I reacted the only way that anyone ever could have reacted in this situation. Oh good, I'm glad that the net came back. And the helplessness story is I had no other choice, I had to do it this way, there is nothing I could do. And those stories tend not to be very helpful in the long run. Like, they tend to be helpful in the short run, and that they're the stories we tell ourselves, but they tend not to be helpful in the long run. Let's see here. Telling myself a story of picking up too many watermelons. I don't need these melon seeds, and I don't need these sticks. Okay. Wait, am I picking them up now? No, the sticks. And so, there's... Why am I not picking up these melons? Do not need melon seeds, do not need potato. Come on, melons. There we go. Where was I? Okay. So yeah, telling yourself stories. So there's the standard progression is you see and hear something, you tell yourself a story about that thing, then you feel your feelings as a result of the story, and then you act as a result of your feelings. And what the authors recommend is basically flipping that script on its head, and instead of acting as the last thing you do, change your actions first. Focus on having healthy actions, and then as a result of your actions, then you can have the feelings, like control your feelings, and then analyze the stories that you're telling. Is it true that I'm helpless in this situation, or is there something that I could do? Use your brain to think of other possibilities. And so, analyze the stories and then focus on the behavior. So, focus on what behaviors you can do and what behaviors you want to change. And that's the chapter on stories. Let me... I am lagging too. Okay. So, master your stories. And then chapter 7 is all about, okay, they call it State My Path. My Path, which is, they have this whole big old long acronym for what STATE stands for. But basically, it's share the facts, tell your state, ask others what their path is, they talk tentatively. So I'm gonna talk and talk tentatively and encourage testing. So the talk tentatively and encourage testing things, those were not obvious to me, because I tend to be the kind of person who wants to, once you know something, that you want to say it strongly. If you're certain that the other person is doing something wrong, then you want to tell them straight up. For example, someone in my household does not wish to shower, and I want to just say it right up. You need to do this. This is important to do. And I tend to state things fairly strongly. But according to the book, I would have more success if I talked more tentatively and didn't strong arm quite so much, and would state things like, I think you'd smell better if you'd shower, and I think other people in the house would be happier if you would shower more often. And that it sort of being more tentative about it is going to be more successful in the long run at getting the other person to change their behavior. And there's a whole section in the book where they have like too soft, too hard, and just right, where they give a whole bunch of examples of how to tell. Like, one of the examples was confronting somebody about their frequent drug use, and things along those lines of too soft is, gee, I wonder if you might potentially have a problem doing drugs, and too hard is, you've got to stop doing this right now, and being mean about it. And then the just right is, I'm concerned about your health and your drug use. Maybe we can come up with a solution. How can I help you cut down on your use of illegal drugs? Oh, thank you. Water check. Yes. And so there's a whole bunch, like, if you get the book, then you can read all the examples that they give. And just watching the examples is a good way to learn, and good way to learn how to talk to people about difficult things, and different ways to phrase things that I personally am really pretty bad at coming up with in the spur of the moment. I have to rehearse it in advance, and I have to, get books like this and read them and go, oh yeah. And the showering example is something that literally I just thought of while I was doing the stream tonight, and thinking about, yeah, I probably have been coming on too hard to my non-showering family member, and and no wonder they're resisting. They feel unsafe. So I should really fix that. So yes, apologize, admit when you're wrong. That was one of the steps earlier. So that's the State My Path chapter. The other chapter is explore others' paths, and the keywords from that one are ask them what they're feeling and why their reasoning is what it is. Mirror. So this is one of those things that they tell you in marriage counseling, is basically when the other person says something, then repeat back to them essentially exactly what they just said. I mean, don't do it in a mocking way, but do it in a, I just heard you say XYZ. Is my understanding correct? And that doing that sort of thing, oh, I didn't have enough space for all the melons, and now this is going to be all messed up. Oh, come on. This is just going to take forever. Okay. Oh, how am I going to do this? Put the melons away and worry about it later. Crucial conversations is more important than melon harvesting. Yeah. Yeah, so mirror and... Oh, oh, hey! F the Night, welcome! Yeah, I'm not sure why. Yeah, I'm not sure why it's delayed so much. But mirroring is a very good technique for making sure that the other person feels heard. It's one of those ways that you make the space safe, is by mirroring what they just said. And the other thing it does is it gives them a chance to correct any misunderstandings. So you might have misunderstood what they were saying, and it sometimes happens that when they hear you mirroring back what they just said, then they realize how ridiculous it sounds. And even if it's the thing that they just said, it gives them mirroring and saying, is my understanding correct? Gives the other person the opportunity to essentially change what they've just said. And, it allows them to save face, like showing respect for the other person. They have a whole example in the book of why showing respect for the other person, even if that person is not worthy of respect, like that person has not done things that are respectable, but showing respect for the other person certainly helps. So refreshing the page might help too. So mirroring, saying back what they just said and saying, is that correct, is one technique for helping make the space safe. Paraphrasing. So not saying exactly what they said, but say once they finish saying their piece, then restating what they've said in your own words and say, my understanding of what you just said is this, is that correct, is another helpful technique. And then priming the pump. So if the other person has gone into silence, then sometimes what you might need to do is sort of say, I'm guessing what you're feeling is XYZ, and then allowing them to correct you if you're wrong. Why do I have all this junk in here? This is not helpful for doing a harvest. Just going to clear out some of this stuff. I was planning to put Silk Touch on this, but I just haven't gotten around to it. But if I had Silk Touch on that axe, it would make this harvesting process much simpler. So anyway, priming the pump is a technique that you can use when the other person is in that silence mode, and it gives them a chance to, understand what you're thinking or understand what you're experiencing with respect to their silence. And two, it gives them a chance to correct it in a less threatening way. And then, let's see here. Yeah, you can agree, build, and prepare. And you can kill zombies. I should really go to sleep so that the phantoms don't get me. I don't have to deal with night while I'm harvesting. And then the final chapter that they have is move to action. So basically it talks about the different kinds of actions that people can take when they're, the different ways that organizations can be structured. So sometimes an organization is structured, military style, when it's a command and there's one person in charge of making the decision. First that person has to gather all the information, but then that person makes the decision for everybody. Sometimes there's a consult where people have more input with respect to it. Sometimes decisions are made by voting. Sometimes decisions are made by consensus. And that is the end of the main part of the book. So let me put those last two chapters up on the wall. But then they have one final chapter on tough cases. What do you do when things are really bad? And that it's already after 2, so I won't go into those, but basically the authors understand that some cases really are tough, and they give some examples of how can you change your behavior, because your behavior is really the only thing you have control over. And it just gives some ideas on how to do that. So, let's see here. This was... So there's state my path, explore others' paths, and that's the task, mirror, crime. The crime path, oops, it doesn't fit. I go up a line. I don't think I can I? Oh, yes I can. Okay. Up arrow, it works. So explore others' paths, and then chapter 9 is call to action. Or move to action. There we go. And those are the main parts of the book. So, anyway, let me change my music here. Where is it? There. So, oh, come on. Be in the right window. So, good night, everybody. That is Crucial Conversations. And if you're having difficulty holding conversations or difficulty dealing with difficult people, I strongly recommend this book. I will be putting... Actually, I think the link is already in the stream description, but when I upload this VOD to YouTube, I'll stick a link to the book on Amazon in the VOD, in the YouTube link as well. And I hope you enjoyed it. Yes, Fossabot is here. So, good night, everybody, and let me find somebody to raid. Just a moment. Yeah, they are... I am recommending on Twitch when everybody is talking about International Women's Day. Then I was like, for all the ones that it made sense to, then I responded with, hey, we should try to raid more women on Twitch. If we want more women on Twitch, we should work harder to raid more women. So let me see. It looks like Queen Cack is in fact live, so I will raid her again tonight. And yeah, she has been getting better and better. When I first started watching, her PB was 42 something, and now it's 25 something. So I think that is great, and I learn things when I watch her streams. So yeah. Okay, there we go. It says 1 viewer, 2 viewer, 3 viewer, 4 viewers are ready to raid in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, good night, everybody. I will see you again tomorrow night.